EpiQi Sciences is a drug repositioning firm. We are taking a drug that has already been proven safe and effective for one disease and getting it approved for an unrelated disease. By doing this, we have a real opportunity to make a big difference in the life of a lot of people. Let's take, for example, dialysis patients, who represent only a small fraction of our overall market. In the USA today, approximately 360,000 people are on dialysis, and at an annual cost of $73,000, this costs the healthcare system $26.3 billion. If, for example, patients could receive treatment every 4 days instead of every 2 to 3 days, cost per patient would drop to about $55,000, and this would save the healthcare system $6 billion. Our discovery has the potential to do just that. This would also help real people, people you may know, live a fuller, happier life by not needing to have treatment as often. If you are part of the small group that knows about drug repositioning, then I probably have your attention. But if you are like most people, you've never heard of drug repositioning. Don't let that keep you from listening to a fantastic opportunity. In less than 10 minutes, I'll explain drug repositioning and demonstrate the enormous possibility it presents. First, what is drug repositioning? As a drug repositioning firm, EpiQi Sciences will reposition an already FDA-approved drug to treat anemia of chronic inflammation, or ACI. Drug repositioning takes a drug that is FDA-approved for one disease and earns FDA approval for a second unrelated disease. By doing so, it also extends the patent life of the drug. An example is a drug called thalidomide. Although this drug turned out to have terrible side effects as a morning sickness drug, it proved to be a very beneficial treatment for leprosy. Another example is a drug that was repositioned from treating angina to erectile dysfunction. We now know this drug as Viagra. As you can see, the markets between repositioning are sometimes different sizes. This is the case with the drug we will reposition. As you can see from this graph, the market this drug now serves is relatively small. Furthermore, the patent on this drug will expire in the near future. At that point, the market will become even smaller. The market for ACI is 10 times as big as the market this drug now treats, which means that by repositioning the drug, it can target a much larger market, as well as extend patent protection. This should get the pharmaceutical companies that are manufacturing this drug very excited. Normally, if I were to mention FDA testing, you wouldn't be interested in investing in such an opportunity, but this is different. So how is this different than a typical FDA approval? A typical FDA approval can take up to 10 years and cost up to $1 billion. We project that the simple repositioning of this drug will cost $6 million and take 3 years, both of which are mere fractions of the full FDA approval process. Which means this is cheaper, faster, and far less risky. It is still a lot of money and a long time, but it is much easier to swallow. But first, how is repositioning done? This shows the typical FDA approval process, which again takes up to 10 years and up to $1 billion. Repositioning allows for the use of previous data in getting the drug approved the first time and repositioning the drug for the new disease. For example, all toxicity and safety studies don't need to be completed twice. We can skip all that and move directly to proving that this works to treat ACI. This shows the repositioning process, which will only take 3 years and $6 million to complete. And as of today, we have already proven this to work in tissue culture and have begun animal testing through funding we received from a grant. We are confident that this will work. So how big is the market? ACI affects people with many different diseases. These patients total 135 million people in the United States, which is 40% of the US population. You probably know someone who can benefit from this discovery. So what is the discovery, and how is it different? This is a healthy bloodstream. In a properly functioning bloodstream, iron is absorbed from the liver and intestines into the bloodstream. The iron is then transferred to the bone marrow, where new red blood cells are produced. This shows a bloodstream of an individual that has been infected with bacteria. Bacteria cause inflammation. When inflammation is present in the body, a hormone called hepcidin 25 is released. Hepcidin blocks iron from being absorbed into the bloodstream. It does this because bacteria need iron to reproduce. This is a defense mechanism to help fight bacteria. Once the body is cleared of bacteria and inflammation subsides, the hormone hepcidin leaves the bloodstream, and iron can once again be absorbed into the bone marrow. This is the bloodstream of someone with chronic inflammation. Hepcidin is activated in this bloodstream just like in the bloodstream of someone with a bacterial infection. And again, iron is blocked from being absorbed. However, because the inflammation never decreases, the hepcidin never leaves. There are currently 2 ways to battle chronic inflammation. The first is to take iron supplements to boost the iron in the intestines. But even with more iron in the system, hepcidin still blocks it from being absorbed. And if too much iron builds up in the body, it can cause severe side effects like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. Still, the market for iron supplements is $560 million. The second option is to take erythropoietin, which stimulates the reproduction of red blood cells. But the red blood cells it produces aren't entirely healthy because of the lack of iron. Even so, EPO has a $17 billion market. Our treatment, which we will call Drug S because of an NDA, attacks the core issue. When Drug S is introduced into the bloodstream, it will allow the body to resume a portion of its natural absorption of iron. Furthermore, our treatment will help iron supplements and EPO to be more effective. A 3-way treatment would fight anemia of chronic inflammation much better than anything that is now available. Who is on the team? Dean Graham, a BYU MBA student, has been instrumental in getting this venture off the ground. He has driven interest in the idea, recruited the management team, performed market and industry-related research, authored all written and presentation materials, marketed the concept to gain traction, and, perhaps most importantly, secured an option on the technology license from BYU. But our overall management team is also strong. John Miller is a successful investor and manager who will be able to raise funding as our CEO. Dr. Hashad is a PharmD and entrepreneurial scientist who will oversee the repositioning process. Dr. Watt is the discoverer of the possibility and will head up our science advisory board. Dr. Hancock will perform the animal tests for us, which, by the way, are underway. Dr. Hilton worked under Richard Watt as a graduate assistant while the discovery was being proven in tissue culture. And our faculty advisor, Thomas Peterson, has 20 years of experience in managing new ventures. So how will we market this to pharmaceutical companies? Fortunately, top pharmaceutical companies already manufacture, market, and distribute this drug, and our patent will allow them access to a second, bigger market to target. EpiQi Sciences also has a promising contact, who is a personal friend to a top executive at a top pharmaceutical company. It just so happens that this acquaintance is the individual who first synthesized the drug we are repositioning, and would therefore have a vested interest in getting 20 additional years of patent protection for it, and would have the authority to take action. So what's the return? You'll recall that the total market for ACI patients is 135 million people, or 40% of the U.S. population. You'll also recall that we gave the example of how this drug could benefit dialysis patients. Dialysis patients only account for a mere 3% of the total ACI market. We feel that the drug will do well with the entire market given that it is a better treatment than the current drugs on the market. But just for now, let's assume that we will only capture the dialysis market. Also, let's assume it will take us a full 10 years to capture it, which is also very conservative. If the drug were to completely fall on its face and this is all the drug accomplishes, then we would still earn a 50% IRR. The risk in this deal is getting the drug through the repositioning process. Once that is complete, this will become an absolute cash cow. We hope this demonstrates the full potential for this business model, and thank you for your time. We are EpiQi Sciences, helping people feel better by bringing better treatments to light.